everybody, thank you so much for coming back to another video, and in today's video we're going to be talking about Godzilla, King of the Monsters. So yeah guys, this is the third film now in this new MonsterVerse. I'm really excited about these films. I'm really excited to see where they go. I grew up as a huge fan of the Godzilla films, both series of the Japanese series. If you don't really know what I'm talking about, you can probably find a breakdown of the different series that came out in Godzilla and the different timelines. But yeah, I grew up loving those films. I would rent them all the time. I just absolutely loved those old Japanese Godzilla films. They just changed cinema and changed big monster battles for an entire generation of film. And yeah, you go back and you watch them now, some of them are just absolutely terrible. Some of them are absolutely cheesy. But I think that's part of the experience, you know? You have these guys in big rubber suits and just stomping on buildings and, you know, all these, you know, small miniatures. And there's just something about the craftsmanship and just the artistic elements that really make those kind of films just so charming, and I think that they just have a beautiful place in film history. So I grew up just really loving those films and what they did for cinema at the time and what they did for, you know, big sci-fi action monster movies. And with that said, I was really excited when they said that they were going to start over here with a new series that's going to be an American series, and that it was going to kind of lead up to Kong and Godzilla fighting. And so we had the Godzilla 2014, which I enjoyed. I haven't done a review for it yet, but I do want to. I did enjoy it. Godzilla wasn't in it as much as I would have liked him to be, but there was a lot of really cool elements. And for a Godzilla movie, I think it definitely gave us some really cool elements, some cool action. And I just wish that Godzilla had been more in that movie, but I will talk about that a little bit more when I do that review. And then there was Kong Skull Island, which is another film that I really enjoyed. I was not bored one bit when I watched that movie. For the most part, it was really, I think, a little bit more cheesy than the first Godzilla movie that they released in this new series. Definitely felt like it was a little bit more lighthearted, a little bit more on the fantastical, you know, silly fun side. But, you know, it's about a big monkey that's fighting monsters, you know what I mean? And I think that that movie knew what it was and it leaned into it. There's some elements about it and some characters that are forgettable. For the most part, if you're in there for Kong and Kong kicking some ass, that movie did it for me. And so I'll definitely do a review for that and break it down a little bit more. But right now we are on the third film in this franchise, and this is Godzilla, King of the Monsters. And what I can say right out of the gate is that the biggest positive I can give this film is really, really awesome action sequences. The action between the monsters is awesome. If you grew up loving these monsters and always wanted to see them done in a really beautiful CGI and just in a way that really expands and grows, you know, that world and just shows you Godzilla in a way you've never seen before. If you really enjoyed the first Godzilla and Kong and realized that they look beautiful and thought about seeing characters like King Ghidorah and Rodan and Mothra in a film, this movie does it for you. This film definitely, you know, just definitely executes on giving you beautiful looking monsters in the most beautiful way we've ever seen them before. They look so cool in this movie. The action sequences between them are super, super awesome. And that was easily the biggest positive I can give this film. Now, with all of that said, I think that the film on its own is a little lackluster in terms of just an exciting story. You know, the action sequences are really exciting, but you know, we're in this day and age, and you know, this is obviously coming from, you know, the mentality of a modern cinema goer, is that we've seen them be able to do movies like this with really strong stories. And you know, to see a movie like this that kind of just has a very straightforward, easy to follow but kind of bland story with really forgettable and annoying characters or just dumb characters can be a little disappointing. Now, what I can say is I did enjoy this movie. Will I buy it and add it to my collection? Absolutely. And I think if you were a fan of Godzilla, if you grew up watching those old films and love big kaiju monster battles, then you will have a great time with this. I think that there's no way I could deny that, and there's no way as a fan of this that I couldn't recommend this to other fans who love this kind of thing. However, I think that if you're going in for story, if you're going in for the humans, obviously I would say that most people who are watching this kind of movie are not going in for the humans and not going in for the story. You'll be satisfied if that's not what you're going in there for. But if you are going for story and you're hoping for a strong story, it's just not here. What I would say is the performances across this film are fantastic. You know, you have Millie Bobby Brown and Ken Watanabe and a few other really recognizable faces, and some names I just can't remember right now. But there's some really recognizable faces in here and some really great performers. And for the most part, I really enjoyed everybody's performance. Nobody in this film gives a bad performance. I just feel like they weren't given the meat and potatoes of a script that really could sell them on being emotional or something to kind of, you know, be invested in. And I think that's the biggest issue I had with this movie, is I never felt invested in any of the story or any of the characters. And I've had some people tell me like, oh, well, you know, the movie is really about the monster fights and it delivers on that. And I do agree. I think this movie does deliver on the monster fights. There were times where I felt that they were cutting away from the monster fights a little too frequently. You know, things were starting to get on, like go on, and stuff was really getting gritty, and they were just kind of cut away, and that kind of upset me sometimes. I was kind of thinking like, okay, come on, you easily could have just, you know, not done that, and you easily could have just really focused in and just showed us these monsters kicking each other's ass. And I think that I wish they would have done that a little bit more, but for what we got, and especially with the kind of movies we've had in these Godzilla films before and the kind of fights we've gotten, this was awesome. There were some great action sequences. I just think that the story and the emotion of the film was lacking. You know, I never felt connected ever, not one time. My girlfriend fell asleep watching it. My sister fell asleep. It just, and I don't blame them. You know, there was times my eyes were getting a little bit, you know, watery and wanted to kind of fall asleep, because the scenes with the humans are just filled with nothing but exposition. You know, you have really great performers giving great acting performances, but they're kind of just in rooms just talking about things and talking to each other, and it's really just for the audience to understand what's happening, but there's really never anything happening with them that expands the story or ever shocks or surprises you, you know? So I think it really depends on what you're looking for when you go into this film. I just wanted to have a really good story as well as some awesome monster battles. I got the awesome monster battles, but you know, the story was just lacking for me. So, you know, I do enjoy this movie. Do I recommend it? I recommend it to fans of kaiju monster battles. If you're not into that kind of stuff already and you kind of think, that doesn't really attract me, then you may not get too much out of this movie, to be completely honest. But if you are a fan of that kind of stuff, then I think this will just be, you know, this is definitely for you 110%. If you like films like Pacific Rim because you want to see robots kick monsters' ass, then you'll love this movie, because there's definitely monsters kicking each other's ass, and I think that they do that very, very well in this film. And the only real small complaint I'll give regarding the action sequences in this film is the fact that there are the film has this very like dark blue tint to it as far as the overall color palette of the film, and a lot of the film is really dark, and that was an issue I had with the first Godzilla in 2014, was that it just feels like there's too many battles in a dark, rainy setting. And sure, it made sense for this movie and it made sense for that movie too, but I'm really hoping that for these future films, especially for Godzilla and Kong when they fight, that they do some daylight battles. There's no reason that they shouldn't. You know, back in the day, some of the best battles that we had in those old Godzilla films were these monsters battling in the daytime, and I think that we need that in this next film. That's what I loved about Kong Skull Island, is he was kicking monsters' ass in the daytime, you know, with the sun up, and it just, you get to do some really cool things with the lighting. You get to definitely add some cool effects, and you get to see the monsters, you know. And for me, being able to see King Ghidorah in this film was awesome, and Rodan and everything, but everything was so dark. It was always nighttime. It was always raining. It was always just like in some sort of like fog or cloudy, or there was dust everywhere, you know? And it looked cool. Don't get me wrong, it looked badass, but I just really hope that for the next film and the next films in the franchise that they, you know, kind of lean to have some more daylight monster battles, because I think that they're definitely taking away from what they really could do and letting us see these battles and these monsters a lot more clear than we really have been able to. So yeah, guys, that's gonna be my review. Let me know what you thought about this movie down below. I'm definitely excited to hear your thoughts on it, and I'm excited for this franchise to continue. I want to see more monsters kicking each other's asses. That's what I watch movies for. I grew up as a kid loving people with superpowers kicking each other's ass and monsters kicking each other's ass, and as that, you know, kind of led into my beauty and my love for film, yeah, it's something that I've always had a deep connection for, and I definitely want to see more of these films. So yeah, guys, that's gonna be my thoughts on this movie. Thank you again for watching. Hit that like button, comment down below, and I will see all of you guys in the next video. Bye-bye!